Yeah, call it a combination of people stepping up on behalf of athletics at this particular moment. So Dr. Crow, first and foremost, talked about the investment that the university is making in athletics. We're also seeing a number of donors stepping up in a time of transition, but more importantly, opportunity, as we've talked a lot about. And so we do have a number of capital projects underway. You mentioned we redid the field turf over at the Dickey Dome. We've got a brand new softball field that's wrapping up here in the next couple of weeks. We're improving the sport lights at Phoenix Municipal Stadium. It's a number of changes across many of the facilities right now. And so it is about what are some of the items that we've been keeping on a planning radar that we're now able to put in motion and get ready as we enter the Big 12 and for this next chapter of Sun Devil Athletics.
The economic impact of that is the university is absorbing those things in a different way than how it used to be?
Combination of. So the president has put a considerable amount of dollars into the capital improvements that we're making right now, but we've also had a number of donors step up. Jackie Vasquez, softball legend, and her family making an incredible investment in a softball to redo the clubhouse that was wrapped up at the end of last year. And then we followed that with putting about $1 million into a new softball stadium, new field, improving the drainage, improving the infield mix, the outfield, et cetera. So a combination of the two. Yep.
Hey, Graham. Eliab Dubai, Sports 360 AZ. So you just talked about a little bit about the things that y'all are tending to, right? And
yes.
What's been the process for you, I guess, balancing what's possible and then talking to your coaches about what is needed now?
Yeah, it's a fine line, but we're collecting a lot of information. And so really having a lot of meetings with coaches in all sports and understanding, hey, what do you truly need to be successful, and having the honest conversation on what we can commit to right now, what we want to be more mindful and planful of as we move forward, and again, figure out how do we solve those problems internal to ASU, how do we find the community of support that want to enter that conversation and be a part of either contributing time, treasure, or talent, as we like to talk about, into building those solutions. But the world is different than it was a year ago in almost every respect within our space. And so we're mindful of that and trying to collect a lot of information so we can make very planful and disciplined decisions.
And
you got a follow-up?
Yeah, real quick follow-up. When it comes to Kenny specifically and football, what have some of those conversations been like, and what are some of the things he's brought up?
Yeah, we've talked all aspects of the football experience. And going into the Big 12, how do we make sure that we're ready to compete? We think we are. We feel like we've got a roster that's capable of competing in the Big 12 right out the gate. We're very much mindful of on where this is going moving forward. And as we're navigating all of these class action settlements, there's a lot of information yet to be determined there. And so we're staying as close to that as we can real time and making sure that we're prepared to compete at the highest level.
Hey, Graham. Ryan Myers, Devils Digest. For you guys, since you've come in as athletic director, how is the transition to kind of surge up the NIL production of ASU athletics, and how has that kind of gone for you in terms of being able to add more fun to the program and then kind of progress the program going forward?
Yeah, I'm very proud of our evolution in NIL over the last 8-9 months. That's been a combination of people who have really stepped up in that effort. The Sun Angel Collective, first and foremost, we've got a number of passionate Sun Devils leading the charge there. They've been front and center in the efforts of just bringing people together to understand how NIL can be an incredible tool for our athletes. We're seeing that. I've mentioned that a lot this summer on when you level the playing field and we're able to compete in all the ways that student athletes are looking for at this moment in time, we're having success. There's a lot of kids in the country that want to be Sun Devils for all the right reasons. They're getting elite coaching, they're getting elite education. We're focused on their experience from all aspects of being a student athlete, and you've got a community of support that's stepping up on their behalf. And so we've got Arizona Ford dealers right over my shoulder. Tim Hovick, front and center of a passionate Sun Devil and a business owner stepping up on behalf of NIL, and he announced it Friday at our kickoff luncheon. He's got 10 vehicles that he's making available to the Sun Angel Collective to utilize in our NIL efforts. That's incredible. That's an individual putting his money where his mouth is in terms of believing in the upside of what ASU can create, and he's making an investment on behalf of himself and his company to prove that out. And so, yeah, very excited about where we're going in NIL, the individuals that have stepped up, the companies that see incredible value in using ASU athletes to promote their product or service. We're in a major metropolitan area. I've talked a lot about the value of us being surrounded by corporations, big and small, and the reality that these companies can use NIL as a tool to promote what they're here to do. Sure. Yeah, it's not the end-all be-all, but it certainly has helped. And in particular, when you go in the Big 12 and we're in every time zone, we're a national conference at this moment in time. We've got 90 million eyeballs across the 16 member institutions, including ASU. There's just a visibility and a footprint that matters in that conversation. And so we're lucky to play in Phoenix metro companies and individuals, but we're also able to tap into the ASU reach that's nationwide at this point.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic. Graham, what's the plans for Desert Financial Arena? Obviously, that's kind of on most fans' mind.
Yep.
What's your game plan for that?
We're in active conversations about the building and the game day experience for basketball in Desert Financial Arena. So more to come on that later in the fall, but rest assured there's conversations underway.
That's it?
That's it for now. We're gonna talk about football.
Hey Graham, Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. With the city of Tempe doing their thing with the 33% off for Tempe residents next week for the Mississippi State game, how did that come about, and how big is that in terms of activating the Valley?
Everything that we're trying to do right now is about bringing the community of support together and finding Sun Devils wherever they are. We're so lucky to have a partner like the city of Tempe that's vested in that effort. You know, we said this on Friday at the luncheon and often that, you know, as Tempe grows, we grow, and vice versa. And this is a really critical partnership to have city leadership, Mayor Woods, his staff, his leadership team that's focused on how do they add value on a game day, but at the same time, how do we be mindful of the Tempe residents who love ASU and want to come and find ways to support it. And so we're obviously doing a lot of that right now. We have ticket offers in the marketplace that are kind of uniquely approaching City of Tempe residents or alumni or faculty or staff or kids and families. We're looking at how do we make game day much more enjoyable to navigate. You know, we announced last week that we're cutting our parking in our garages from $40 to $20. We're cutting it in half because we want to make parking be a part of the game day flow, not a reason that you decide to come or not to come. And so City of Tempe has been a great partner on how do we focus on the egress, leaving the stadium, leaving the campus, and make sure that after a great day at the football stadium on our campus that you can get home easily and just be mindful of the controllables that we have on a game day. We want the team to win. We want the team to compete at the highest level. But every part of that, I call it driveway to driveway, that fan journey from the moment you're coming to Mountain America Stadium, you're here for all the pageantry that's incredible on a game day. And when it's time to go home, we want to make that as easy as possible. So City of Tempe continues to be an incredible partner for us and happy to make that offer available for Tempe residents next week.
And as far as further game day improvements down the line, do you see a future where there's any like cooling, more expensive improvements, like a roof or perhaps something along those lines?
Yeah, what I would say is, you know, what we announced last week is a starting point. You know, it's only been about 2.5 months since we took over athletic leadership late in the spring. So we're trying to do as much as we can out the gate, you know, really focusing initially on affordability and just driving some noticeable changes around game day. And where that journey ends, to be determined. You know, we're going to be collecting a lot of feedback. We're going to be very visible on game day. We want to be at the tailgates. We want to be at all aspects of the game day footprint, collecting feedback, talking to fans, talking to donors, talking to partners to understand how do we make improvements, what those will be to be determined, and rest assured that we want to continue to improve game day. Yeah.
Graham, Michael Caratanito, Pitchfork Lunch. To kind of get back to NIL, how big, like when you're thinking of obviously getting student athletes out there, but how big is like maybe even growing it with cross promotion of sports, like with somebody from football, volleyball, or whatever partnered up? Have you guys looked at like partnerships for even athletes to do it together?
Yeah, we're with NIL and some of the partnerships in particular. You know, Arizona Ford Dealer, Santan, I mentioned, Mountain America Credit Union, Sprouts, Coca-Cola, Adidas, Desert Financial Credit Union. A number of our main corporate partners have looked at how do they plug into NIL. Desert Financial and Sprouts are probably two that I would mention that are very eager to look at how do we do activation around female athletes? How do we use the platform of promoting female student athletes at a time that women's sports continue to explode in popularity? It's not a movement. It's not a moment. It's a movement. We're very mindful of that female sports is on this incredible growth trajectory, and we have partners that want to invest in that. We're seeing that. So we're seeing that with Sprouts, Desert Financial, and others. The way that we've really tried to calibrate our approach to NIL is we have 26 sports. There's an incredible value to ASU when you have 26 sports because we've got sports like lacrosse and beach volleyball and triathlon that have a way for us to connect and resonate all over the globe. And that's the value of those sports, of having what happened in swimming this summer with Leon and Ilya and the Olympians that we had on an international stage promoting ASU, there's a lot of companies that see value in that as well. And so to answer your question, yes, we're looking at how do we use 700 student athletes from all over the world and partner them with companies that they either align with or that see value in using that as a way to promote their product or service. Yeah. I don't think we can measure it other than to say it was incredible. I think some of you in the room were out there to cover the Paris Olympics and what that was like. We're so proud of Leon, Ilya. We had 24 Olympians across the entire platform. And that's what it's all about. You know, we're talking a lot about the changes in college sports. I hope we don't lose sight of the value of all of our sports and what that means for the Olympic movement, particularly when you look at Los Angeles hosting in 2028 and the fact that ASU is front and center with an incredible presence in LA. Maintaining our Olympic presence is very important. But with what Leon did, we talked a lot all spring about the Face the Olympics is on our campus. And so we had we had a small amount of home meets last year, and it was exciting to see the people that were there kind of in the know. Now the secret's out that we've got an elite swim and dive program, and we're going to open up our season October 4th. We're going to try an evening meet at Mona Plummer Aquatic Center. And so we want to use the attention that Leon and the other Sun Devil student athletes had in the Olympics to just bring more attention, goodwill, and connection into what's happening here on campus. Yeah.
Hey, Graham, Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ.
Jordan.
You just surpassed the 3-month mark in the official capacity of being an athletic director. What surprised you about this gig so far?
I'm surprised at how much fun I'm having. You know, it's been, a lot of you have heard me say this, a lot of people watching have heard me say this, but I'm a Sun Devil. And so to be able to represent my university in this fashion, I knew it would be a lot of hard work, it is. I knew it would be a lot of late hours and long nights, it is. But that is far surpassed with the energy I get back in talking, like every day. I get to talk to fellow Sun Devils. I get to talk to people that have attended the university, have grown up around it, that have benefited because of it, and we share a love of ASU. And so I knew that would be a sentiment in the role. I think I underestimated how much joy that would provide back in return. And the grind of the role or the position, if that makes sense, is totally muted by the energy that I get back from just the shared love of ASU. And there's been so many deep and long and meaningful conversations that I've been able to have this summer that have been very informative in the plans that we're making and the direction that we want to move going forward. And so, you know, going and spending a Friday afternoon, the day after 4th of July, with a long-standing, passionate supporter in his office and just being open to all the feedback, harsh and fair and appropriate, but passionate, and coming from a place of like, I want the Sun Devils to be something that I'm proud to be associated with again, and giving us these insights that are very informative to the decisions that we're making. There hasn't been a better use of the time that I've been able to spend over the last 3 months, but the energy we're getting back in return, the energy that we're starting to feel around the community, I find it palpable. I hope our fan base does as well, that the tide is changing. We're moving in a new direction. Are we there yet? Absolutely not. We have a lot of work to do. We've got a long way to go, but the early returns and the energy that we can start to feed off of, it's real, and we want to keep feeding that every step that we can.
Help me get the mic back to Max, please.
Hey, Graham, Max Cepeda, Arizona's Family CBS 5. Can you quickly talk about how the Big 12 scheduling matrix put ASU in a pretty difficult spot in many of the media's eyes, at least this year, for year one? All 5 AP top 25 preseason opponents are on ASU's schedule, 3 of which on the road. How confident are you that Kenny's staff, in those 90 million eyeballs you were just talking about, going to put ASU in a positive light for not just the state but the nation against really tough competition?
Yeah, we welcome the tough sled in front of us. You know, it's a challenging schedule. Frankly, that's how we prefer it. You know, we've got a group that's here to compete. We've spent a lot of time, a lot of investment on the coaching staff. You know, Coach Dillingham has been very deliberate about the people that he brought into the football organization, and we're surrounding these young people with the right leaders. And so we welcome the challenge. We welcome the opportunity to showcase ASU in this schedule. We want to be battle tested. We're not here to ease our way into whatever comes next. We want to understand where we're at. And I believe that there's no replacement for the lessons learned when you're challenging yourselves. You know, we're seeing that in football and the schedule that we've got. That's going to be the case in men's basketball. We announced our non-conference schedule last week. It's challenging. By design, it's challenging. Coach Hurley embraces that reality of I want to find out early on what our team's made of. And when you've got coaches that are passionate about coaching. They like making the adjustments. They like understanding how do we stack up against the best competition in the country. They can make those real-time adjustments early in the season and not have to get to a situation where you're late in a conference, you're late in the bowl game, you're late in a basketball tournament to understand what do we need to reinforce, what do we need to do differently. And so what an opportunity. What a great chance to be stacked up against the best. We're building all of our programs. We know we're not there right out the gate, but we feel like we're in a position to compete. But again, the benefit of playing 5 top 25 teams as a part of our conference, like what an incredible opportunity to understand where we're at, where we're going, what do we need to do differently, where do we need to make other improvements and changes in that space, but we welcome it.
Just one quick follow-up. You
Sure.
mentioned the basketball non-conference schedule. What was the process like with Coach Hurley discussing an exhibition game in his former building that he played in and that he's considered revered and was as a player?
Yeah.
Like, what was that process like getting to talk to Hurley and having that not be necessarily a game that maybe matters, but still an exhibition game and still an opportunity for his team to be tested?
Yeah, it's a chance for the team to be tested, but more importantly, it's a chance for us to showcase the good things happening at ASU and with our basketball program. And for a coach to understand that the brand of Bobby Hurley is something that he can really utilize in addition to being the coach at ASU, that there's the benefit of what he's experienced in the sport and in his career, and being able to tap into that to bring more attention and eyeballs on ASU is a positive. And so, we're very thankful for Duke for opening up this opportunity for us. It's going to be a great moment for Duke basketball fans, for Sun Devil basketball fans, and for our program to really understand how do we stack up against one of the best programs in America. But again, what an incredible net it cast on ASU and the work that's happening here as a result. Yep.
Hey Graham,
Hey, Blake.
with the Sun Devil Source. I'm curious, with mentioning now ASU in all 3 time zones nationally and also having the international connection with alumni, tapping into that alumni network, how has that progressed so far, and what are the plans to continue to progress that forward to get them to engage back in Sun Devil athletics?
Yeah, alumni will continue to be a big part of our strategy, not only athletic alumni, but ASU alumni across the board. We've got nearly 1 million alumni now, both degree seeking and that have attended ASU. And again, no other university in America has that type of reach. And so we're trying to communicate with our alumni out the gate. We're trying to find, both as a general alumni standpoint, this is what's happening at your alma mater. This is the growth trajectory that ASU's on in all aspects, including athletics. But in particular with our athletic alums, I don't think we can do enough there. I think we need to be mindful every day of how do we find a storyline. Doug, Jeremy, Connor, the team here is incredible about following the news and understanding what's going on in the sports world and how it ties back into ASU. We've seen that. John Rahm in the Olympics, look closely at the picture. He's using his Sparky scorecard. Like there's a benefit in these connections that continue to happen every step of the way. The Major League Baseball season's going on right now. We've got 10 guys in the big leagues representing us. Lou Dort in the Olympics playing for Team Canada. There are success stories all across the landscape. We want to celebrate that good news with the Sun Devils that are representing us so well and communicate to the masses. We had our volleyball scrimmage over the weekend at Mullet Arena. About 2,000 fans coming to watch a volleyball scrimmage. That's a really good indication of what the community is thinking about the volleyball program in specifics with Coach Van Neal. But it was also just a casual alumni outing, and there were probably 24 volleyball alums back in the building with their kids, with their families, plugging back in, maybe in a conversation that they haven't been a part of in the past couple of years. And so we're looking at across all 26 sports, how do we create meaningful alumni engagement just to get people back on campus? I find that very hard to beat, just when you get athletes from any sport back on campus, and they may have been gone for a year, they may have been gone for 10 years, but the flutter that they get and that emotional connection that gets restored the moment you walk in and see a pitchfork on a wall or somebody wearing the uniform that you were proud to represent, we can't do enough of that, particularly at a time where a lot of where we want to grow athletics is going to be driven by kids and families, and getting young children in all of our stadiums and arenas, and knowing that our alums that are having families and they're staying in the Valley, that's a great opportunity for us to plug in and keep doing more of that.
Jake in the middle
Hey
there.
Graham, Jake Seymour, Sun
Jake.
Devil Source. I'm just curious, you talk about the alumni and they're being so widespread, almost 1 million from ASU, but what's the process of communicating with them? I mean, a lot of people, hard
Yep.
to get in touch with all of them. What's kind of the streamlined process for that?
Yeah, I'll kind of give you a peek in the playbook. I mean, obviously the normal forms of communication, email, even printed mail. I still see a lot of value in print media done well. And so we're looking at how do we create sports-specific publications, athletic-specific collateral that can go out via the U.S. mail. I still think there's a lot of value in that. But really, we're trying to go back and Doug will love me talking about this, but looking at all of our all-time rosters, we really need to identify what a letter winner means at Sun Devil Athletics and make sure that we've got roster certainty going back across the decades to know that who are the people who represented ASU through sport. From that point, sync it up as part of a university effort where we know we've got the right contact info. And one of the little changes that we've started to make, we have our Stole ceremony in May. We send out all of our athletic graduates, making sure that we stop to get forwarding addresses, their parents' contact info, their non-asu.edu email, so we can make sure that we've got accurate information and not try to communicate in a way that has campus contact info at a time that they've been gone for 2 or 3 years. And so it may not be that sexy, but it is going back and combing through all-time rosters, all-time statistics, making sure that we've got a very good sentiment of who is on an all-time roster. And then from there, make sure we've got contact info so when we are sharing good news, that good news is getting to the intended audience.